We're ready for round 5?
We are ready.
Alright. Let's load this round 5 matchup. These players are 3-1 going into round 5. So both players will definitely want a win out of this match to keep their top 8 hopes alive. We are featuring CaptObvious and Traxym.
Ooh. Okay. Man, where is Dreaming Fox Diamond Sapphire today?
I'm not really sure. We've definitely seen Wintermoon. And in fact, I think this is the first time we've seen Takahiro today.
So the witch is dead, and all of the Munchkins are coming out to play, is what's happening here today. Interesting stuff, though. We have a Diamond Sapphire Socket Elijah deck up against Takahiro Death Cries, I assume.
Death Cry, Commander Prompt in there.
We got a Into the Unknown, Runebind Guidance, Nagan, Lapidary, and MC Etcher of Norzan. Nagan Lapidary is a troop that probably, well, it might have, it might be a one-of, and it might have Flight Swift Strike in it as well to get it through, but you can sacrifice it off to take control of a troop on the opponent's side of the board. And other than that, we pretty much know what all of these guys do. Blightbush over there spawns a couple of Blight Blossoms. That 2-cost Animus, though, looks like the cost reduction socket in that to get it down early, which is something we haven't seen as of yet. Pretty good stuff.
Already buffing all the socketed troops by +1/+1. And that's in all zones too.
This MC is going to be huge. We see a Grounds Creeper up there in the hand. We see a Hero Fall. So MC, almost huge. I mean, it still could be huge. There's a Runebind in hand to potentially neuter that Hero Fall. Dark Art. Dark Art is the -1 cost gem and probably +2 defense here. We'll see. But that's pretty good too. Unfortunately, it means that the Hero Fall is likely going to land. And honestly, this deck doesn't care too much about sacrificing things. The Blightbush here is just going to, you know, create more troops than it started with.
A Hero Fall means that not much else is happening this turn. Actually, hits the Animus of Nolzon this time. MC is going to be allowed to ready.
Interesting choice. The Animus is quite the threat, but the MC is a threat too. We see Mad Robomancer come off the top. Well, come from the deck from MC, and then the resource come off the top there as well. Pretty good start here for Elijah. And honestly, I suppose the choice of Hero Fall there was because Elijah can bring back that MC.
Bishop Elijah's power. Put a 2-cost troop or 2-cost or less troop from your crypt into your hand. Hero Fall. Runebind hitting Hero Fall. He'll have a new target when a resource enters Takahiro's hand, but it has been stopped for now. Not wanting to revert MC because that would revert MC. May as well risk it. Get another 4 damage in if it doesn't pop a potential diligence.
Yeah, interesting choice here, actually. Sacrificing the Nagan Lapidary. Doesn't end up doing it, though. Just goes for Into the Unknown there. But yeah, Nagan Lapidary you can sacrifice, obviously, and then bring it back with with Elijah as well. So you can steal a troop and then get it back and steal another troop later. Yeah, so it's kind of like a new format right now. Like, Lasgar's was so influential to the way the game was being played. That taking it away has really shaken things up, and it, you know, people feel like they can play other decks. And so we're seeing a lot of variation here today.
This metagame will likely last around 2-ish months. And in that time, that's going to be 6, 7, 8 Hex Bashes. We'll see how this metagame develops. In the meantime, CaptObvious winning game 1 against Traxym. Traxym on the play. These players are 3-1, trying to keep their top 8 hopes alive.
Nature Reigns is a good hit here. Deals with a lot of the problem cards of this Elijah deck. We see MC in hand, Animus in hand. That's not going to be played on 2 because obviously the socket doesn't work if it's already there. We see Prideful as well, potentially for dealing with Hierophant and Crusader and whatnot. Yeah, not a bad looking start for both players. I think this really could go either way. Really depends on what comes next.
There's only one way to find out what comes next. An excellent pickup by Traxym. Lord Blightbark.
That is fantastic. Oh my word. Like, when you've got a Hierophant in hand, there's probably nothing better than that. Like, Prideful doesn't deal with it. It deals with the Hierophant, but the Hierophant will have already triggered and will trigger again. Potentially even sacrificing the Hierophant here to the Takahiro.
Just sacrifice a Blight Blossom for that. To draw a card and gain 3 health. And meanwhile, MC, it's just a 2/2 flight Swift Strike. Lord Blightbark can't attack into that, but that is a minor point. But Traxym has both Nature Range and Strangle in hand. We'll be able to handily handle that.
Yeah, this is a pretty huge swing, and honestly, Prideful, although it kills the Runa here, it doesn't do that much. Strangle will make sure the MC doesn't ready. That's 4 damage with another 5 on board.
Leaving the Nature's Reigns for any artifact threats that are bigger than 4 defense, like a Dark Heart of Nulzon.
Like a Dark Heart of Nulzon. So yeah, this is just really solid for Traxym here. Taking out all the threats all the time. The Prideful can take out that 4/4 next turn, but a lot of damage has already been done. The only thing worth noting here is that once that Animus is down, the Prideful can take out the 4/4 here.
But Animus normally costs 4.
Not in the same turn. Actually putting MC back down again, so that's a Swift Striker that can deal with these 2 attack guys, plus the Prideful there for the 4/4 as well.
Runebind trying to target the Abomination, forces the sacrifice for it. Pride's Fall means that both attackers are taken out. The 2/2s are remaining. Lord Blightbark sacrificed for the draw, keeping the Abomination, allowing the second Lord Blightbark to be played. Traxym figuring that the Lord Blightbark being played better than keeping it in hand as a potentially just dead card, even if CaptObvious were to find removal for it. Grounds Creeper. 4/5 lethal, triggers a death card at the end of each of your turns. There's no death card to trigger right now. That can change very soon. But MC readying, Diligence will take a socketed card from deck into hand. It's another MC. It's also unique like Lord Blightbark, so won't be played right now, but a backup plan. And Animus of Nolzon is already in play. Here's Blightbush. Death Cry will trigger on play.
Whoa, that swing. I guess to kill it, you've got to trade with the Animus, and that's what he wants here. But man, it's almost lethal.
I think that's correct. CaptObvious down to 5. Very dangerous. Second Animus of Nolzon, and that is a board full of Blight Bushes, Blight Blossoms that's just going to keep expanding every turn. However, that is a 7/7 Flight Swift Strike in the air. That is a lot of really big troops actually just playing an MC to buff the rest of the troops.
Playing an MC to buff the rest of the troops, but also it means he's not going to be getting that Diligence power next turn.
I think he feels like he doesn't need it. He can block everything but MC, and MC's only a 9/9. That does mean a socketed troop would have been lethal, but does not get it.
This is so sad. Oh, Chomp Knight is such a rip. Oh no. Okay, Runebind takes out. So Runebind takes out the Chomp Knight, but there is enough damage here that lethal is available anyway. Oh man, that Chomp Knight was an incredible top deck.
There are 5 blockers. There are 10 troops. 5 Blight Blossoms are enough to finish off this game.
Man, there isn't much that would have forced that Runebind before combat. And that Chomp Knight was one of those things. So, very nice. That would have destroyed 2 of those. Chomp Knight is such a good card in this matchup. Wow.
Yeah, if that Chomp Knight not being there, Runebind hits one of the troops and only 4 damage goes through. Very close there. But that does mean Traxym has won game 2, evening out this match. That means game 3. That second MC was a risk that did not pan out. Because it was the MCs that were going to represent damage. And readying would have gotten another socketed troop. Which wasn't 100% to be something that could be played, but we take risks. Anyway, CaptObvious gets to go first on the play of this game. Traxym on the other side. Bishop Elijah versus Takahiro.
Double culmination. Naive Lackey and Commander Prompt up against Sentry of Nils and Runebind Prideful. So nothing going on for either player really right now.
The hands are going to be kept though. So starting off with reducing the cost of Bishop Elijah. No socketed troops in hand. Eager Lackey, played by Traxym. Death card, draw a card. No damage, no attack represented by either player.
0-1 and a 0-3, not really getting the game moving here. We do see that Hierophant, the first card with legs in this game. I mean, the other cards have legs, but you know, it's the first card with metaphorical legs.
Warp Steel Shard Sworn creates a Death Caller. And the Warp Steel Shard Sworn is socketed with Fate Weave. Elijah will be likely getting a non-shard here on top of the deck. When you Hierophant from Traxym. That ever-present confounding eye are usually in the reserves if your opponent is blood and wild, as many of your opponents likely are. A great interrupt for 2.
Interesting. Okay.
He gets another Fate Weave out of that. Attacking
True.
with
That's
Shard
true.
Sworn.
That's true.
Getting a block. Getting it back. It's only 1 cost. Leaving 3 open for both Confounding Ire and Runebind. Confounding Ire cannot interrupt the non-sharded commander prompt. But that gets Pride's Fall. Runebind.
Pretty good against Hierophant, honestly, just for that revert here. So the Fate Weave for a non-shard gets a non-shard, and it's another shard swarm. We see 3 damage swinging. If Animus comes down anytime soon, this board could be really huge. We see the, I guess that's +1/+1 when you play an action. The previous 2 have been Berry.
But the resources are stacking up. It's also funny to see the double culmination of Blood start, and Bishop Elijah has basically no cards in hand. 5 damage incoming by these 5/1/1s. That stacks up. That's a lot of damage.
It does, especially when you consider this Grounds Creeper is likely going to meet a Confounding Ire. If it's played anyway.
Grounds Creeper, any of the other Blood Wild threats. Rotten Rancor is good. Sacrifice from Takahiro on the Rune Hierophant to turn 1 troop into 2 and draw that card. Ever important.
Goes for the full swing. It's going to be 4 damage with a trade and a sacrifice there. Culmination's still really good. Especially 2 of them. Means any removal is, any removal that's held is going to... Interesting. So that Runebind potentially means another Fate Weave and... Okay. The Nature Rains takes ours, but it would have meant another Fate Weave and another Depth Crawler potentially there too.
But that's a Nature's Rains that's not going to kill this Sentry of Nulzon, just top decked.
I don't know what's going on.
Dark Heart of Nulzon.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on,
MC?
But the only cards that Elijah has drawn so far are Depth Crawlers and... Not Depth Crawlers, are Shard Sworn and Sentry of Nulzan. That's it. Isn't actually it, but it certainly feels that way.
Still eking that damage out. Playing Into the Unknown on the Emperor's Lackey. Those are all transformed in all zones into things. That's a Blight Knight. 3/1. Created cards are -1/-1.
Opponents
Poor Death
created
Crawlers.
cards, I think.
Opponents, yes. And a Promiscuous Succubus. Finally,
Okay.
we're
just drawing sets of Shard Sworn, sets of Sentries, and sets of Confounding Eyes. Like, where are the rest of the cards? The other different cards that aren't these cards.
In Entrath Poker, 3 of a kinds are good, right? Culmination of Blood. Might as well a Confounding Ire it. You're going to lose a card anyway.
Might as well. There's another. What is going on? Someone forgot to shuffle their deck, clearly.
Clearly, that's how it works here. Meanwhile, Traxym has picked up a Hero Fall and a Strangle. And as culmination for whatever he might need it for.
Finally a card that isn't just like a 1-drop or an interrupt, man. I mean, it technically is lower than a 1-drop right now. Strangle comes down, Confounding Ire stops the Strangle, but Hero Fall is still there, so it doesn't really make a huge difference right now.
There was also the potential to play Culmination, force the interrupt. Like, you don't know that it's an interrupt. But what else is that Culmination going to be doing in hand? Not stopping this Animus of Nulzon.
Animus would have been good about 5 turns ago, I think. But there's a Hero Fall anyway. Just draw the Hero Fall. It's a very distinct difference between how these two players are drawing from their decks.
CaptObvious down to 6.
2 Succubus is
Cannot
enough
block.
to win. It's a shame.
No, draw luck. Doing CaptObvious in this one. But that is going to be Traxym holding on at 4-1 going into round 6. Speaking of round 6, the live tournament is now at round 6. But we'll be continuing to cast round 5 games.